They don't all have to be pretty because Barcelona is one step closer to another trophy this season. Well, actually, there was a little bit of pretty from Lamine Yamal and Pedri, but I don't know if all the magic from those two can offset all of the disgusting, grueling anti-football that we were treated to for this Barcelona versus Atletico match. Welcome to episode 673 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Dan Hilton, and I actually have so much to plug because of all the games and all the big things happening, including even the Peñapalooza stuff that happened on Monday that will be released on Friday. There's so many things to talk about. So I would just ask you all at one time. Here, I'll give it to you. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe on a podcast app. Leave a like, leave a comment in either of those spaces. Follow me on social media. Become a Patreon. Become a member on Big Up for free. And wherever you are, I probably am, even on TikTok and Instagram. So just say hi. So without further ado, though, let's dive in. Here are the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 1-0 win over Atletico Madrid in the second leg of the Copa del Rey semifinal. Headline 1 is Flick nails his tactics. When I saw this starting lineup, and I know that he had played coy and said Ferran Torres is starting because he's in good form. That's why we want to see him in there. But when I saw Ferran Torres in for Lewandowski and Fermin Lopez in for Gavi, I knew 2 things to be true. 1, Flick wants Barca to get on the break and quickly, especially after defending set pieces. And 2, he was looking to overload the middle, both in small spaces and vertically, which Ferran Torres helps you do and Fermin Lopez help you do probably more than Lewandowski and Gavi. And all of that work in the middle, that gives Lamine Yamal more room on the right in 1v1 opportunities. So instead of trying to explain to you in words, let me show you if you're watching on YouTube. Time to hit the tactics board nice and early today. Now with a look at the tactics board from the very jump, here's why Hansi Flick got this right. Starting Ferran Torres in for Lewandowski, starting Fermin Lopez as the 10. Rafinha, he had been rested since coming back from international duty with Brazil. And Lamine Yamal, as I made mention to, and will continue to make mention to, he was basically rested in the last 2 games, even though he played the full 90, was walking around a lot, and he was certainly fit for this game. You had Pedri and De Jong starting as a double pivot. Koundé, Cubarsí, Martinez, Nico Martinez, and Balde as your back 4. Sure. So in that formation that I already just discussed here, the key was the middle of the field. When I saw the starting lineup, you knew that Hansi Flick wanted to make sure you could get Lamine Yamal in as much space against Real Nildo or in the second half, Javi Gailan as humanly possible. And that's exactly what you saw here with the overload in the middle. And it's Ferran Torres' ability to associate in the midfield. That is why he started this match over Lewandowski, because with what was a 4-4-2 in the first half and then a 4-3-3, but that 4-3-3 does defend with 5 at the back with Atletico Madrid. So it wasn't really a 4-3-3. It was more of a 5-4-1, honestly, with Sorloth being the 1 in the second half. So in the first half, dealing with that 4-4-2, the keys were always going to be what they could do, that being Barcelona, building up between the lines. So you had a lot of Ferran Torres tucking in. You had a lot of Fermin Lopez either making the run in behind or Fermin Lopez tucking in. For Rafinha, same thing. It was either Rafinha going out wide, which would then pull Lamine Yamal in, or it was Rafinha making the run in behind, or it was Rafinha coming inside if that was Fermin Lopez making the run forward. Then you had the permutations with Pedri. You had De Jong oftentimes in that first half would come in between the 3 center backs, because if Rafinha is coming inside, that means that Balde is getting high and wide out on the wing if you're bringing Rafinha inside. If you have, at that point, Balde going wide, then you've got De Jong dropping the center backs and then pushing up the entire line of confrontation, right? It's a whole offside trap for Barcelona, so let's slowly inch our way forward with everybody moving forward. Continue to keep Lamine Yamal isolated on that right wing as much as humanly possible. And then, is he the man of the match? We'll talk about it later. I can't decide. I think at this point, I'll tell you, spoiler alert, it's either Pedri or Lamine Yamal. Because in the second half, especially, even though some of the names and faces changed, Pedri between the lines of Atletico Madrid was the big difference in this game. Pedri got forward more than we saw in other days, where he would be just slightly below Ferran Torres, and then it would be Fermin coming back into that space and Pedri swapping spots with him. And then there were times when it'd be Rafinha coming inside and then Pedri swapping in with him. Or again, it'd be Pedri coming over to support Lamine Yamal. And then Fermin and Rafinha would both be the runners and Balde would stay at home. Tremendous stuff from Pedri to be given the keys to have all of the institutional trust that Hansi Flick gives a star midfielder and saying, hey, when we need you to double pivot with De Jong, do that job. When we need you to be the one to get forward and Fermin and Ferran are going to drop in, even I trust you to get farther than them and then make up that space. But Pedri, also make sure you get over to that right side and support Lamine Yamal when he's needed. Because it was also Pedri who would come over to the right side and look for those long balls for Lamine Yamal over the top or the diagonals to Rafinha on that other side. Pedri was awesome in this first half, being the talisman that made everything happen, the metronome that this match, in the first 30 minutes at least, were swinging to and fro upon. But it was a team effort. It was Ferran Torres, it was Fermin Lopez, Rafinha, because everybody's first touch today, including De Jong's, was good enough. They were able to deal with that Atletico Madrid press. The press from Atletico Madrid just was not good enough on the day. And I think quality-wise, first touch-wise, and the second half is a different story. We'll talk about it later. But in the first half in particular, Barcelona looked more likely side to score because they were just good. The quality was high enough because this is a good, talented team. That is really good stuff from Barcelona that made me excited for what they could make happen for a potential goal or two or three. So yeah, now let's talk about some of those chances. Headline 2 is talent on display. I already laid out kind of what was happening in terms of tactics, but the players still had to get it right. And the opening whistle, Barcelona and Atletico Madrid both came ready to play. As much of a grueling match as we got to see, especially in the second half, I want to remind you, the first about 30 minutes of football, even from Atletico Madrid, weren't that ugly. It was all pretty good and early chances from both sides. The first one was an early chance on Lamine Yamal, the ball over the top from Pedri, and Jose Maria Jimenez slid in on it. Up and down action, especially on Barca's left side early. Balde had to defend, and very much like Balde has done, where it looks like he's on the back foot early in matches, it's really the bookends for Balde. If he starts a match well, yeah, it's going to be a good 90 minutes, but sometimes he can be shaky in the first 5, 6, 7 minutes, and then when he loses his legs in the latter halves of games, which is probably why Gerard Martin comes in and then he moves to left wing. He's still needed, but he isn't necessarily going to be trusted as a left back to make up that space. But either way, it was coming down the left side for Barcelona, and Balde held his ground with Negar Martinez being sensational today. It's not the first time I'm going to say that, helping out as well. 6 minute, an early yellow for Azpilicueta, but then VAR says, hey, taking a look at this, it stays a yellow, plus Simeone also gets a yellow on the sideline. And for this, I could have gone either way. And I know that people want to say, hey, a foul is a foul from the first minute to the 90th minute, regardless of the circumstance. But this is one of those, if it happens in the 70th minute, it's a red. But because it happened the first 10 minutes, the ref does not want to have that kind of tackle smear the entire game. I think that kind of tackle with the studs in where it was, it's 50-50 to be a red, maybe even 60-40 to be a red. But because it happened the first 10 minutes, I'm not hating the fact that the referee wound up just giving a yellow in that circumstance. 11th minute, on a set piece for Atletico Madrid, we got to see the blueprint that I laid out in the tactics board. Pedri winds up picking up the ball off of the corner from Atletico Madrid that Barcelona was able to clear, and then they're off to the races. He knocks it ahead, does Pedri to Rafinha, and it's Lamine Yamal who finishes the play going wide, but that's after Barcelona also won it back on the press. So this was the idea. Get the set piece for Atletico Madrid, which you don't want to obviously give that up, but if you do, get out on the break quickly, and once you're up there, then press like heck, win the ball back, which is a lot of what Barcelona did, led by Pedri, led by De Jong, and led by those forwards in Rafinha and Lamine Yamal and Ferran Torres. Good work by that front six, including Fermin Lopez, to win the ball back in Atletico Madrid's half of the field, especially in that first half. It's a bit exhaustive to have to say all the yellows, but in the 13th minute, Rodrigo de Paul got one. But even with the yellows, I was still pretty happy with what I was seeing talent-wise from both teams. Chance down the left soon after that, Rafinha to Torres, but a little bit behind him, and it's blocked anyway. Lamine Yamal then floats the ball over two defenders for Koundé. That ends in a goal kick. But still, Barcelona, I thought the first touches, the skill, it was all on display in a really good way. Barcelona attacking through the middle with runners. It's Ferran, it's Fermin, right at that Atletico Madrid back line. And that forced Atletico Madrid, by making those runs with the intensity that Fermin, Ferran, Rafinha, again, Lamine Yamal, whenever he has the ball at his feet, that forces Atletico Madrid to talk with all those movement then going on between the lines as well. And that meant over the course of 90 minutes, there were going to be moments when Atletico Madrid were going to miss just a little bit of a detail if Barcelona could be clinical enough. Headline 3 then is perfect timing. Did I say clinical enough? Well, they were. Once in this game, in the 27th minute, they were clinical enough. And it comes after a great recovery from Fermin Lopez to win the ball back after he lost it. Barca then set up possession in Atleti's half of the field, putting bodies forward, bringing that high line up, and Barcelona playing with it on the left side. overloading that left side with numbers, and Pedri going forward as well in these rare instances. Rafinha then, with Pedri going forward, pushed deeper and more centrally, and nobody went with him because he had enough time to then switch the ball over to the right. Lamine Yamal had also dropped in because Fermin and Ferran were the ones making those forward runs. And then Lamine Yamal got that ball to Ferran in the half space. It's a thing of beauty from Lamine Yamal, the perfect amount of weight on this. And Ferran Torres, great timing, runs onto it and beats the keeper going across the goal. Perfect timing, as I said, from everybody involved. And this is a deserving Barca team goal, deserving of the 1-0. At that point, I think if you're an Atleti fan, the next 3 or 4 minutes of game action, because of Lamine Yamal, there was something that clicked with him after he was able to deliver that assist, because then it was 3 minutes of Atletico Madrid saying, how are we possibly going to deal with this 17-year-old? The 30th minute, he was at it again. He danced through the Atleti lines, went past 4 defenders, and still found a little touch on for Pedri. And if Pedri had gotten a bit more on this back heel to Rafinha, at that point in the game, it would have been 2-0, and who knows what happens after that. 31st minute, Ronaldo then gets a yellow, clearly frustrated by that last 4 minutes that I talked about with Lamine Yamal. And for him to get a yellow at that circumstance, if you're Diego Simeone, I mean, now you understand why he took him off at halftime. Headline 4 then is anti-football, because from the 35th minute on, I can basically sum up the rest of this match and these other 2 headlines by saying, ugh, what are we watching? I hate this. This is anti-football. 35th minute, when Atletico Madrid could have been in more trouble with Lamine Yamal finding the game. Instead, it's De Jong who gets a yellow, and then the anti-football began. It's another counter for Barca in the 40th with Lamine Yamal in the middle, Rafinha with the run from the left, stopped by the keeper. So these are chances that Barcelona had. You feel like they could have finished. 45 plus 3, Alvarez joins his friends in the book, and at halftime, Captain Guardiola on Twitter kind of said it probably the best here. He was surprised that Atletico Madrid players were panicking, defenders in particular, under pressure and just clearing the ball out. When Atletico Madrid got their win over Barcelona early in the season, and then when they drew them 4-4, it's because they were unafraid to play out of the back. But it seemed like Atletico Madrid were timid to do that today for some reason, and they kept hoofing it forward, which for Barcelona, in the way that they were setting up their rest defense, they were perfectly prepared to win those 50-50s, and they did that because their defenders and their midfield were just good enough today. De Jong, Nico Martinez, Koundé, as I said, and Szczesny as well in the air was rock solid where he needed to be. So if they're going to win the second ball, as that being Barcelona, Atletico Madrid had to do something different. So they do switch it up here in the second half. Instead of a 4-4-2, which they employed in the first half, they switched to a 4-3-3, taking off 2 players and adding Sorloth for Simeone. Also, 2 of the players taken off had the yellow, so get them off the field. And now you saw for the second half what the idea was. It was to play that offside trap. We saw it before, and they had success in the first leg. With Sorloth, either he was dropping in or Anton Griezmann was dropping in. One of them was either dropping in, and the other one then would be 5 yards offside. And they would have to make the Barca high line communicate and figure it out. And so there were some early moments in that second half that felt nervy. An offside where Tekken made the save anyway. 52nd minute, Kubarsi plays the first bad ball of the day from his feet. Sorloth was wide with the shot. It might have been offside, didn't matter anyway, but also it might have been onside if he winds up putting this one in the back of the net. 55th minute, then Barcelona should again have been up 2-0. Lamine Yamal again in space, this time against Javi Gailan. He comes inside, goes to Rafinha, and Rafinha, he shoots when maybe he should have passed it back to the back post or get it on frame at least if you're going to take a shot. Lamine Yamal on that play, that was when he got walloped by Lenglet, wound up having blood in his sock, limping for a while, but he did motion the bench to say, hey, keep me on, I'm okay, it's a knock. And I just hope that in the interim until Real Betis, or maybe even sit in Real Betis and save him for Borussia Dortmund, wrap that kid up. The old Rice, are we still doing that in physical therapy? Rest, ice, compression, elevation. Yeah, have him not touch the ball for a few days. Just get him rested and get him ready to go. Lenglet, you're on loan though. Why did you hit Lamine Yamal? Don't hurt our boy. And the headline 5 is Atleti Gets Desperate. 58th minute, Hansi Flick puts on Araujo and Eric Garcia coming on for Fermin Lopez and Kubarsi. Kubarsi was definitely struggling with Sorloth, and that's okay. Over the course of a season, Kubarsi has he been the best defender? Maybe, but Araujo, this was a game for him. Hey, Araujo, you're the third choice center back. Go out and have some fun against Sorloth. And Molina comes on for Madrid at the same time. Molino doesn't waste any time. He gets a yellow in transition. It's a yellow because he kept the studs down, at least on first viewing. But then on second viewing, maybe not. I think it's a second one here that Atleti gets away with. So maybe this should have been a red, but still, we remain 11-11. And then from the 60th minute on, a lot of flopping, a lot of fouls, a lot of rolling around from everybody. Again, Atletico Madrid just trying to be as desperate as they possibly could in this game and hope that something would go their way. 68th minute, Eric Garcia goes on a huge run down the right wing, something you'd expect from Mohamed Salah, and then Balde gets a yellow the other side. 69th minute, Sorloth offside again, this time on a goal, and Araujo did well. I don't know how much he knew about it, but he did well to step to the man that was going to deliver the ball, and assuming that if there was a guy behind him, he might have been offside, and he was. 74th minute, Ferran Torres out for Lewandowski, and at that point on, from the 74th minute, as much as Atletico Madrid were trying to make this game as ugly and as grueling and as awful for all of us and our eyes as possible, Pedri and Lamine Yamal, their ball retention skills from the 75th minute on were just a thing of beauty. While I have been an FC Barcelona fan longer than Lamine Yamal has been alive, what he and Pedri do with the ball, that is what FC Barcelona just means to me, that ball retention. I know goals are fun, but the way that they just dance around a tired Atletico Madrid side when Lamine Yamal was hobbled and injured and tired. And while Pedri himself was gasping for air, they still had that extra gear with the ball because they have the skill. They require less energy to keep the ball away from the opposition. Just wonderful stuff from both of them. 83rd minute, another transition opportunity. It's 3v2, but Lamine Yamal has a shot deflected. Instead of looking for Rafinha, Lamine Yamal was my man of the match. Just slightly over Pedri, but you know how I stand Pedri. If you want to say he's the man of the match, go ahead. That is in no way something I'm going to argue. They were co-men of the match for me. But Lamine Yamal, I think he gets it because of just how much he changed this game for Barcelona and the assists as well. But as much as Lamine Yamal, as good as he was, this was just one moment. You're like, Lamine Yamal, maybe that's what comes next in his progression. Either he finishes this one or he does release that pass for Rafinha. On the other side, as Barcelona were defending late, there are huge plaudits to go around for all of Araujo, Inigo Martinez, and Koundé. They were all sensational in this match. And the 86th minute, the other defender there to end the match, Gerard Martin, comes on for Lamine Yamal. Balde playing as that left winger again. In the 93rd minute, Gerard Martin picks up a foul and gets a yellow. Not great from our guy, Gerard Martin. It's a free kick for Atletico Madrid. But this is where Ronald Araujo, he puts on a Superman cape, came up with a header, knocks that one away. Then seconds later, with 3 Atleti shirts in the box and just one Ronald Araujo and one Tech, somehow he's able to win the ball. He goes out for a corner, doesn't matter because Barcelona survived and they're on to the final. So in just a few short weeks' time, Barcelona will be going for the Copa del Rey final, just as they're facing Real Madrid a few weeks after that for what could even decide the Liga trophy. And because both teams are alive in the Champions League, yes, they wouldn't be able to meet until a potential final. But the fact is, Barcelona and Real Madrid, in a number of different ways, feel like they are on a collision course. And the way that Real Madrid played against Real Sociedad yesterday, it is interesting that these score lines did kind of parallel each other. Real Madrid were 1-0 and then 4-4 with Real Sociedad, and Barcelona were 4-4 and then 1-0 against Atletico Madrid. So yeah, it all comes down to Real Madrid and Barcelona, as it always has, as it always will. But that means that Barcelona are in the hunt for trophies. That's what that means. And I'm so happy that everyone has joined me on this adventure already this season. And please continue to stick with me throughout the remainder of this season and into the summertime. We've got some youth football to talk about as well. On the watch along on Big Up today, if you want to go on bigup.com/the Barcelona pod, you can find that watch along. And at halftime, I spoke and reviewed the UEFA Youth League. So I won't make time to do it here, but if you go and become a member for free on Big Up, I talked all about the UEFA Youth League at halftime of that watch along. I will have no watch along for Al Betis, but there will be a 5 headlines coming out in quite a few hours after the fact. But yes, no watch along this Saturday. But yes, there will be a 5 headlines, as well as a podcast with a Borussia Dortmund specialist to talk all about the tactics, players, and all about that stuff for the quarterfinal midweek next week in the Champions League. And that is a reminder that there is a lot happening in the Barcelona universe because there is a lot of trophies left to be won. So again, it is a great time to be a Barca fan, hopefully a fan of the Barcelona podcast as well. Because as always, until next time, Barca fan.